So I guess we're going to see something about cameras, photos. Who are you?
I'm Brad Malcolm from Perfectly Clear.
Yeah, and what are you showing me here?
So what I'm showing you is our Android app, which we also have on iOS as well. And so Perfectly Clear, we're not a filter, we're not a creative effect, we're automatic image correction, give you a great photo automatically, overcoming camera limitations. So what I'm showing you here is we've loaded this image in, I snapped this photo with this camera. Cameras have a single aperture, and so you get underexposed photos a lot. And we automatically correct it. We're correcting every pixel independently as if an 8 megapixel camera had 8 million individual apertures.
Yeah.
And because of that, we can get you great exposure.
And this app costs like $2 or something?
Yeah, $2.99.
$2.99.
Yeah.
So $3.
Less than
cost of a latte.
Less than that.
Less than a latte, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I think my lattes are now $3.75
I believe it, yeah.
at Starbucks. Let's just talk about this world. You know, Google Plus is doing something like this. When you upload an image to Google Plus, it tries to do the same kind of correction. But that's only on Google Plus, right?
It's true.
And my wife doesn't even use Google Plus.
It's true.
She's a Facebooker.
It's true.
And a lot of people are on Instagram, and a lot of people are posting photos to Flickr or Twitter or just emailing them to their parents, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't get that Google Plus advantage without having an app like this.
I think that's exactly true. I mean, Google Plus is, although still lots of people relatively versus others, very small. And what they do is clever and makes sense. And we loved it when they did, because we did a blog post. We said, welcome to the automatic image correction world, and you can check them out. We did a whole bunch of comparisons on how we compare versus them, and our correction is always more robust and better than theirs. But the concept, of course, is good.
Yeah.
Because one doesn't want to sit behind Photoshop, doesn't have the expertise, doesn't have the time. You just want your images to look good.
Yeah.
And it's not because you're a bad photographer. It's not because there's a lack of technology in cameras. It's just there's limitations.
Yeah.
Single aperture, the sensors distort stuff.
You know, I've been in Ansel Adams' darkroom and talked to his son. And Ansel Adams, even back, 80, 60 years ago, did a lot of work to make those images look good.
It's true.
He showed me his his son showed me his contact prints, and they were really gray and really ugly. And then he showed me the final print on the wall that he made, and it looked beautiful, right? But he spent hours doing the darkroom, doing dodging and burning and contrast adjustments and all sorts of funny things we do. I remember those days where we would even heat up the developer to get a blacker black, right?
Yeah.
And there's lots of little tricks in chemistry that you can do. But now that we have everything on a digital camera, and the sensors aren't even all that great, really. I mean, some of the high-end sensors are really good, but they're not as good as my DSLR. You know, I have a 22 megapixel DSLR with an image sensor that's this big.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
in this thing, the image sensor is like a piece of your thumbnail.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as good, right?
But let me show you something. This is we work on, of course, we got desktop products, so we work on digital images from cameras. So this was actually taken with a Canon Mark III with
this camera.
with a $2,000 lens. So yeah, it's an awesome camera, but here's the before, washed out and faded, and then here's what we do automatically. So it's not just for your mobile images. And again, the camera's awesome, but it's digital as a linear response to light versus film, which is nonlinear. So there's inherent camera limitations. That's why images are washed out or faded like this.
Right, but I've sat next to pro photographers like Trey Ratcliffe or Thomas Hawk.
Yeah.
Thomas Hawk and I went to Coachella, and the entire ride back, he was processing his images in Lightroom and doing a lot of adjustments, contrast adjustments to pieces of the photo, lightening the photo, doing color adjustments, and he was doing it all by his knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you're basically doing is you studied those techniques and you turn them into algorithms and you do it automatically, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many different how many lines of code is it running underneath here?
Well, it's not the lines of code per se, but it's more the science. We got patents on how we do it.
Yeah.
And so we got over 12 different unique algorithms that apply, and a whole bunch of patents on how we do that. So this shows you the color vibrancy.
Yeah.
And I showed you the exposure before. I'm going to show you something else here. We also make it easy to look your best. So there's the before and there's the after as it peels it off.
Yeah.
If I just zoom in a little bit, so you can see we're fixing the exposure, we're making it pop a lot. But if I hit our beautify, now we're actually smoothing the skin tone, so in an accurate manner
Getting rid of lines.
getting rid of lines, enhancing the eyes,
Now-
brightening the teeth.
Now, I worked in a darkroom for a model photographer, and back in the black and white days, and that's what we did. We softened the image, we brightened the image, and we burn or dodged the face to get rid of any lines.
Exactly.
Because girls don't like to see lines.
No. And the key is how do you do that very accurately and very fast, for
Yeah.
example. And here's something else that's very interesting, because here's my daughter, and she's, of course, I'm biased, but she's young, and so she doesn't have lines per se.
Yeah.
But here's what we do before and after.
Yeah.
And then with our Beautify, you can see how it fixes up, removes the excess infrared, because cameras capture infrared, the human eye doesn't see it. So we overcome that, and even in that case, smooth the skin tone a little bit. And my wife's a makeup artist, and that's what women do. That, you know, people will pay her $200 and spend an hour and a half and put on mascara and all that stuff that us guys don't understand to give you this effect with one click,
Yeah.
1 second.
Yeah, no, that's cool. What other effects or what other fixes do you do to pictures?
There,
Smaller one.
yeah. So we deal with exposure. We'll remove that. Let me see what else. There's 12 different things in total. I don't think I have one loaded per se, but let's just I'll load this one up here.
Yeah.
And we'll do the automatic correction, and then you can tweak them on the right. And so we have the exposure, we have the depth, and the depth is what makes your image really pop. And make sure the image has lots of color vibrancy. We sharpen it. If your image has abnormal tint, I can show you an image in a second, but tungsten lighting,
Yeah.
like snow being blue, for example, will automatically correct that as well.
Yeah.
And we remove excess infrared. We have our Beautify. We have noise removal as well, and then for the iPhone we have a deep purple, removes that nasty deep purple.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do, overcoming the camera limitations, making sure you get a beautiful image that just pops instantly.
Now you're coming out with a desktop product too, because a lot of people like to take their camera photos onto a desktop where they have I have 3 beautiful monitors here, and
Yeah.
you have a MacBook that has a Retina screen, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are getting these sharper screens now. Even a Chromebook now, has a really high res screen in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot nicer to look at a photo on a Chromebook than on even a
Yeah,
Samsung
for
Galaxy
sure,
Note.
for
You know,
sure.
the screens are, even though you're getting these phablets now that have big screens, they're still not as nice as looking at a big screen.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So what are you guys doing with the big screens?
Well, so it's a good question. So we have the same technology that works on the desktop as well, and so that's where pro photographers, advanced amateur, we have a Photoshop plugin and a Lightroom plugin.
Yeah.
And so in that aspect, very targeted on saving you time. You're a photographer, you want to be out shooting images, you don't want to be sitting behind the desk manually correcting.
Yeah.
And that's their whole value proposition.
Does that plug in a Lightroom or?
It plugs into Lightroom, and
Oh.
it also plugs into Photoshop, so it fits in your existing workflow.
Yeah, yeah. Thomas Hawk taught me all about Lightroom, and Jan Kabili taught me even more. You know, she's a trainer for lynda.com. Once you get a proficient on a real professional tool like that, it's really powerful. You can do all sorts of stuff.
It is.
Beyond even just automatic corrections, but this gets you a good way of the way there. right?
Absolutely, and that's the thing, basically, we'll get you 100% of the way there, or call it 80% of the way there. So if you're a wedding photographer, an events photographer, you shoot 1,000, 2,000 photos, you come back from your event, just batch process, and they're perfectly clear. We'll analyze it, we'll say, yeah, this one has noise, we'll remove it, this one needs exposure, we'll fix it, this one is lacking in color vibrancy, we'll
Yeah.
fix that. So
What
we
does
do-
that plugin cost?
It's $199.
Okay.
So
Which makes sense because Lightroom is like 200. I think I spent $200 or $300, and then Photoshop is another. Getting the whole Creative Suite costs
it
you
is,
1,000
and-
or whatever dollars from Adobe. You know?
And what we do though is we only have one plugin, and so we give you the full meal deal all in that one plugin. There are other companies that have 5 or 6 plugins, and then you got to pay extra for everything. And so we just put it all in one, so it's your one-step shop.
Yeah.
Saves you time, and then you can be creative. You can use Photoshop and Lightroom for the creative effects, or other plugins, for example, to do your creative stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're adding your value as a photographer, not in mundane fixing camera limitations.
Yeah.
That's just not good value add.
Yeah. Does it take moles out or defects on the face?
The Beautify will, to a certain extent. We're not, because we're all about automatic and our award-winning technology on there, we will, in some aspects, remove a lot of that or get you 80% of the way there. So it depends the extent of the mole, the wrinkle.
Yeah.
Obviously, so extreme stuff, then that's where you got to get in and manually do it. But in 80% of the time, yeah.
Does it fix stuff that is caused by turning on the flash? You know, 'cause
Yes.
that cold, bluish look,
Well, that comes into
and flatness, but flatness is hard to fix unless you do off camera.
yeah.
Flashes.
Well, and one problem that you get a lot with flash is you'll get your skin tones are too red
Yeah.
because of the captured infrared lighting, and so that we fix. And then if you have an abnormal tinting to it, which happens a lot, as you said, like the snow or incandescent or that stuff, we will fix that as well.
Yeah.
Here I can show you an image. Let me show you an image here. So this is a baby shot,
Yeah.
and peel off the before and after, and you can see because of flash, it'll turn out very red. So turn on the beautify, you see how we smooth that, and we certainly get rid of a lot of the red. So that's without, and that's with it, and that's with one click. And then you can of course come in here and do fine tuning if you wanted a little bit more, but generally you don't need to because the automatic is so good. And that's the whole purpose of
That's
the
cool.
whole purpose of it.
Are you? I assume because Google is building this automatic world now with Google Plus, that others are going to need this kind of technology as well. I'm sure Samsung is trying to go, oh shit, Google's kicking our butt with photos. Let's also do it. Let's figure out. Are you licensing your technology? Are you in play to be purchased by some of these big companies? I mean.
We do,
'Cause
yeah.
Siri was launched here, and I asked them the exact same question. I was like, "Dude, this seems like a competitive advantage for a phone." I had no idea Steve Jobs was going to go nuts over it and put it in the phone, but I had that sense that this is a competitive advantage, and there's lots of people who are not Google who need this kind of technology to keep up to date.
Well, exactly. And Google bought the technology that they bought when they bought Nick. That's how they put it in, and so they didn't invent it themselves, as so often happens with big companies. Innovation comes from the juniors, the startups. So, yeah, we're not up for sale or anything like that. What we do, though, is we have been licensing it. So the largest printers in the world, in Germany and Japan and North America, do use us. So 26 million prints every day are corrected through us. And non-printers as well for mobile apps.
Yeah,
Camera Awesome.
SmugMug uses you guys.
SmugMug uses us. NHN in Korea in their mobile apps. More to come. So from mobile to prints, definitely use us. And depending upon that market, there's a different advantage. But certainly a retailer, somebody that prints, the better image you can show the consumer up front, the more prints they're going to do, the more likely they're going to share. But it has to be accurate to re-trigger the memories.
Yeah.
Because if it's an inaccurate photo, your memories aren't
Yeah.
triggered as much, and you don't want to do as much with it.
Yeah,
So
if you
that's
oversaturate or if you
change the colors, and
Yeah.
the filter just masks bad stuff. It makes it creative, but it doesn't re-trigger the memories the same way as your mind remembers. It's like watching a movie and then reading a book and you're disappointed. Same thing with your photo. That's why it's important that it's beautiful but accurate.
If I built this onto, let's say I was Facebook and I wanted to license this and put it on the back end, does it take a lot of processing power? Is that will I need an entire $1 billion data center to process all the photos that Facebook gets every day to do that?
No, I mean, we're very fast, we're very small. It's 400 kilobytes, and these images I was doing real time. So to show you an example on a mobile device, let's see, if I just tap on this image, I'm loading it in, doing the processing, and so it is very fast.
Wow, that's pretty dramatic.
To a couple of seconds.
Why is it so dramatic there?
Well, so this is dramatic because digital cameras, their response to light, their camera sensors is linear, and because of that, they become washed out, faded like this, like a newspaper sitting out in the sun. And so we apply a nonlinear response pixel per pixel to fix that. And it doesn't always happen, but often it does. And again, it's just one of the challenges with digital cameras. And this wasn't mobile. This was a good DSLR. But it's just there's technical limitations, like that single aperture, like the processing that happens, that they fail. As good as they are, they're not perfect, and it happens a
I
lot.
saw that on the Moto X a lot. This flat look.
Yeah,
to it.
exactly.
Now they're fixing that with an update, so they're
there's-
playing with it. But
They can, and there's post-processing, but there's still inherent physical limitations that your camera doesn't see photos the same way our eye does. We're almost like an electronic eye. as I see you here now, I can see your face, I can see you're bright. The eye manages the dynamic range actively because it's updating. Single aperture to capture all of that. I mean, that's a challenge, and that's why we correct every pixel independently, so we can say this part needs it, this part doesn't. It's a local correction, but pixel per pixel.
Wow. You guys are math geniuses, aren't you?
I'm not, but yeah, we're long physicists. Our team consists of mathematicians and physicists and engineers, and
Yeah.
that's the majority of us.
Well, I know. I worked at a video card company, and our video guys were all math people because they had to go and apply algorithms to each pixel to make the picture better or the video better, and sometimes groups of pixels, sometimes other things. But it's a lot of math.
Well, and it is.
I remember looking at their code and going, "Man, this is like this is why I failed calculus
it's not
3."
not always easy, and we got some bright guys. I remember asking Brian, our main physicist and inventor, a question once, and he went back and said, I'll be brief. I'll start with Galileo to give me an explanation, but just very smart guys that can sit back and look at things differently than conventional industry and come up with cool solutions.
Yeah, it's very different than the Ansel Adams days, right? Where you're playing with
is,
chemistry and a stick and temperature and he had a grid of lights, that he could turn on and off on his enlarger.
But a lot of the concepts apply.
Yeah.
Digital film is just different paradigm shift.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, cool. Where do I learn more about you guys?
Athentech.com is the website.
Athentech.
Yeah. Or just Google Perfectly Clear.
Perfectly Clear.
And we'll come up number 1, number 2, 3. You click on us. The website is all there. We got a cool Facebook video. Download the desktop apps. Direct links to the mobile store there.
Yeah.
Talks about the science. Talks about who's using us.
Very cool.
Lots of cool stuff.
Very cool. Thank you so much for coming out.
Hey, thanks. My pleasure. Thanks for taking the time.
Great.